Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Econobox garage as we continue with our Bugeye build. In this episode, we'll finish cleaning up the steering rack that I worked on last time. I'll get to work on both the steering column and the drive shaft, and the first of the monthly Bugeye book reviews that I've been mentioning in the past couple of videos. So thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoy this week's video. For the first of my Bugeye book reviews, I'd like to introduce you to Terry Horler's original Sprite and Midget, the Restorer's Guide to all the Austin-Healey and MG models from 1958 to 1979. It's first published in 1994 and features well over 250 photos by John Colley. It covers all the years and models of the Sprite and Midget, including the Innocenti, from 1958 to 1979, with 34 of its 144 pages devoted to the Mark I Sprite. There's chapters for each generation with a general overview, plus sections detailing identification, dating, and production, options, extras and accessories, color schemes, production changes based on chassis number, engine number, and gearbox. So if you're looking to figure out exactly where your Sprite or Midget falls in the spectrum on changes, it's a really good resource. And although this book was published almost 30 years ago, it is still available on Amazon, and I'll put links in the description below to both the Canadian and US Amazon sites. I plan on doing these every 4 or 5 weeks on the channel, and I'll be going through the books that I have on my shelf.
This is just a bit of a follow-up to the last week's video. Since then, I've got a coat of paint on the steering rack itself. On the inner tie rod ends, outer tie rod ends, brackets are good and clean. And then here's the other side. I will have to replace this lock tab here because the little tabs that lock into the end of the rack are missing. I've ordered the parts that I need, and so when those arrive, I can put everything back together. And also, I managed to get a coat of paint on the starter that I put the new bushing in a couple of weeks ago. So next up for cleaning is the steering column itself. This is the end that goes down to the rack, and this clamps to the end of the pinion. So this just needs to be cleaned up. When I got the car, this spot was actually rubbing against one of their rad hoses, so that would not have had a good ending had it been allowed to continue. Now in this column there's actually felt bushings inside this area here at this end, and then the same at this end. Those bushings are actually in really good shape, so I'm not going to touch those. There's no play side to side on the column. So all I'm going to do is clean this up. I don't even think I'm going to need to put any paint on this. And this is what's left of the bushing that seals the steering column to the firewall. I do have a new one of those on order, so I'll cut that off, clean everything up. I'll just pull this out a little bit, as you can see, and I can just clean all this off, clean the bolt off here and the threads, and just to make it look a little nicer. have the steering shaft all cleaned up, all the rust off it. So I've cleaned up the bolt at this end. I gave the steering shaft a good clean. I think I'm just going to leave that one as it is, because most of it's not seen anyway. Cleaned off the nut that holds the steering wheel on. So there we are, very simple setup, and ready to go back in the car when the time comes. So next up for cleaning is the drive shaft. It's basically just greasy and oily, as one might expect after 30 years on the road and 30 years parked. There's no play in either of the U-joints, so it's just a matter of cleaning this up and maybe a shot of paint, and we'll be ready to go. I'm not going to bore you with the actual cleaning process, but I will show you the end result. Well, now that I've got a bunch of cleaning done, I can get going on some more body work here on the bonnet. This wheel well isn't too bad. There's one little spot that I'll need to weld up right about there, but other than that, that side's straight. And as I mentioned in an earlier video, I do have some work to do on this side. You can see it's got a bit of a bow in it going out, and the welding was, well, let's just say it left a lot to be desired and didn't work out. I was still very early in my learning curve on welding, and plus I hadn't realized I was out of gas, as you can see by just the way those welds look. So long story short, I'm going to get to work on that next. And one thing that's been suggested, because there's a lot of stress along the edge of the wheel arch, is to reinforce that with some 1/4 inch steel bars. So I'll bend these to fit the inside of the arch, and then just weld it inside. I think I'll probably just drill some holes in along the inside of the lip here, and then plug weld the steel bar to that, after shaping it, of course. So that's the plan for the front end here. As I think I've showed you in a couple of other videos, there's some stress cracks. There's one here. There's a few of those that'll need to be cleaned up. A little bit of straightening to do around the box at the front. But other than that, I think things are in good shape. So that's a wrap for this week. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to share it with your friends. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to click on that little bell icon so you'll get notified when the next videos come out. So my name is Ian. This is the Econobox Garage. We'll see you next time.